Hi, everybody. This is Angel Arts, and look who's here.
It's me.
It's my husband, Colin. And welcome to Let's Review the first season of
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. Why Ted Lasso, Colin?
Well, before we go, why Ted Lasso? I'm gonna take a page out of Hark's book, I guess. And if any of you saw the Zack Snyder's Justice League review, which I recommend, it was interesting. I'm not in it, but it was good with Hark. He divided it in like spoiler free and then a spoiler review. And usually, like when we've done it for Buffy, you can check out that one, was good, and Stranger Things. Just necessarily being a whole like spoiler filled thing makes sense, but I feel like you, even as a spoiler phobic person like me, you can still talk about it and what makes it for me great without getting into the spoilers before then.
Yeah.
And secondly, most importantly, there are many people who have not seen Ted Lasso who would, I feel like, love it because people
Yes.
kept breathing down my neck. Yeah, and people kept saying it, and I was like, oh, okay, and just some cliche sports thing. But they were not wrong. They were not wrong at all.
Yeah. No, as somebody like myself who's not really big into sports in general, it was such a palatable, it was such a, more than palatable. It was a really amazing storyline. The characters are awesome, so likable. Even the villains or the antagonists are super lovable. And I mean, yeah. So I guess we'll start with non-spoilerish. For those
Oh yeah,
of you.
it could go at least 5 10 minutes with that because there is. But 2 seconds before we do, this might be a danger to the channel because Hark might have to leave YouTube and just become this giant jock because after this, in theory, or there's Friday Night Lights, which is, I mean, it's unbelievable as well. It's slightly different tonally because it's a drama. I mean, it's actually hilarious in parts, but like I feel like they have a ton of things in common in the sense that I guess the first thing I would say, non-spoiler at all, is that both shows have such respect for everyone and their humanity and their emotional, and by virtue of like it being a drama versus a comedy, there's more comedy in Ted Lasso than in Friday Night Lights and vice versa, but they're both just fantastic. So
Yeah. So, for those of you who may either not have heard of this show before or may have heard it but have no idea what it's about, what is the non-spoiler synopsis of what it's about?
It's actually pretty easy because, ironically, the selling point is that it's a terrible premise, or it sounds terrible.
Yes.
And even the creators are like, when they're describing it, they're like, I wouldn't want to see that.
Right.
So
exactly.
If you want to get, I can get it, but you want to give it the premise.
Jason Sudeikis plays this character named Ted Lasso, who is actually an American football coach, and he is hired to coach European football, soccer in America. Soccer.
Yeah.
But and he is this very, what's the right word? He's super upbeat, super positive. He's almost like a caricature, but not.
But no.
He's someone because he's not a one-trick pony. So the whole thing is he's like, he can come off as super positive and super cheesy, and you guys have to believe in yourself.
But those people would annoy me, and he doesn't.
Right. Those people normally would annoy you, but somehow it just works. And so he's supposed to like help this struggling European football team, and the person who owns the team, she actually hired him specifically to fail, specifically for the team to lose, because her ex-husband, she gotten through a really messy divorce. Her ex-husband was the previous owner of this team, and she is so adamant to stick it to him and get back at him by destroying the only thing he loved. And that's why she tried to hire Ted Lasso. But it's just so much more than that. Like that's how it starts, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah, and that's not really spoiler because I can't. I'm trying to think if that's at the end of the pilot or like in the beginning of the pilot. But again, it doesn't matter because it's the execution of the idea. But it is such a good idea because you have sort of these two parallel tracks. Remind me of the Survivor when the premise of Survivor is you're voting all these people out, and in the end, in the last episode, they have to have you win. So it's you have this person who's trying to destroy him, but acting like she's trying to hire him and help him. But
yeah, and the cast is fantastic. Like as I said, my biggest draw was you really become invested and you really genuinely care about these characters, including the antagonists, and there's more than one. Mm-hmm. It's not just the woman. There's multiple antagonists, and every single episode I think we were saying every single episode just tends to get better and better each time almost.
Yeah. And the ending, because like there's about, and I don't know, I can be a critic and stuff, so, but like the first, I would say in about half of the episodes, half, maybe 4 out of the 10, like it is flying and singing the entire episode, like
writing,
every dialogue,
mm-hmm.
but there's about 5 to 6 where for me the first few minutes it's just like okay, it's a little bit rough or just not great or a little tin-eared, but almost every ending, especially the third episode, it's not a spoiler. I'll just say, like, to me, the third episode, and I'm not alone, like, if you go in, like, the ratings that people had, like, that the third episode is really a turning point. So I feel like if you see the pilot, most of the people, they're just going to like it, but, like, the third is because I'm
really lock you in.
Yes, and I'm very, like, both anxious and careful about, like, showing something to Hark because of a variety of reasons and different tastes and stuff. And so I usually would not. I enjoy lots of different things, like Breaking Bad. But, like, I just wouldn't, but after the third episode, usually I'll tell Hark little parts to show him little parts. But after the third episode, I'm like, forget it. Nope. Nope, we're going to see this. And then it was torture for me because I had to wait 3 weeks because I had seen the third, but I was going to go back to Hark.
Right.
And so I watched one,
yes.
and then another one, and another one. And my coworker, who was one of the people who was, kept recommending it, she was like, wait, you watch like one a week? Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you wait? So yeah.
But the other thing that a lot of people love about the show is the message, because it's a very positive, feel good, like kind of show, but it doesn't feel cheesy, or the cheesy parts are purposeful and it makes sense for the characters. But the actual show overall has this very positive feel, and it's just really unique how a show that does have this positive message is still grounded in reality in many ways.
And
even though it's a comedy too, because it's very funny.
And they constantly like leaven it with with profanity and with these negative or like snarkier things, so that it doesn't come off as like the Shining Time Station, or like, I actually like straight. Well, that's not even a great example. Barney, whatever. That's better. So yeah, and they do that all the time. The only other thing I would say for non-spoiler aspects of it, and it's not even a spoiler, but whatever, is that just thinking of someone who would not be into sports at all.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't matter.
It does not matter.
If you're not into sports, it doesn't matter.
I'll just say we were watching the finale tonight, and it was like, oh wow, they're having a soccer game, because like it wasn't there. That's not in the. It's the Friday Night Light parallel are eerie. Well, people would always say it's not about football. You don't have to be about football, even though it is. They both are, but the sports are really important, and they're not just like making a joke like, oh yeah, that football. Like it's really a core aspect of the being and the competition, and sports having meaning for people. But it doesn't really require it. And the other connection, Joe Kessler, my TV and books and ever very savvy about a lot of stories friend, he is specifically I don't want to say he hates sports, but he doesn't like him.
He's not a sports person.
Not at all. And so Friday Night Lights, and he was, like, really? But and it worked for him too. So like Ted Lasso is totally like that. So I'm just trying to think of reviewers or whatever, if they wouldn't like sports or whatever like that, but no.
The male eye candy doesn't work either. For those of you who are into that, there is a good amount of... Females too, but...
I think people would think Kaylee
is very... Yes.
Well, and let's not
cute.
Be... The what's her name? She is the boss is
yes. But, the male candy is also present. I'm just pointing it out there. Because I remember after the first episode, or second episode, you're like, so did you notice, Hark, that... Did you notice? I noticed. It didn't hurt. I noticed.
Well, yes. Don't tell me that. I know you way too well that I wouldn't have said, "Did you notice?" Because I knew you would have. But I was just
So I'm just throwing it out there, given some of my audience.
Yeah.
Audience.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but yeah, if you have never heard the show, or, I say give it a try. I would say it's a show that if you're not hooked by the second or third episode, then it's okay. But I'd like to believe most people who have seen the show, it's because it has been very critically well acclaimed.
And then it won. Jason Sudeikis won a Golden Globe, and he just won. And his interview of winning one of them was hilarious. He looked like a druggie. He was half asleep, but he just didn't expect to win, I guess.
And also just give a little bit of history. I think, if I remember correctly, the character Ted Lasso was a character that appeared in, was it SNL? I don't remember.
No,
if it was SNL.
I can explain it.
But okay, well, he appeared in Ted Lasso was not a new thing. Ted Lasso was a character that showed up in some sketch comedy show that they decided to resurrect for Jason Sudeikis and create this entire series. So what was
practically it was it was like a sort of commercial, actually. It was a commercial for like the soccer league, because the NBC Sports was like doing European soccer stuff, and so they made a commercial. So they made a fake they made a commercial of basically this coach who was a football coach, and the premise of the show. But the reason it was both stunning to me and like I think another selling point for the show is that we were well into it. I think 5 or 6 episodes into the season, and I saw the ad, and I was like, "This is terrible," which is remarkable given how great the show is. Even more remarkable, and the thing why this is I don't know, it was genuinely a powerful moment for me in terms of like storytelling and now all of the elements of a show make a difference. It was half to 2/3 of the same jokes. So the same jokes that were killing it in Ted Lasso felt like awkward in like the first season of Parks and Rec, and like the negative aspects of The Office. They were like, oh, we're trying to be like, he's a bumbling jerk. He's a Michael Scott. And I'm not saying Steve Carell and Michael Scott are funny and good, but I'm just saying like the bad aspects of that, and just not great. And I think two crucial reasons are because it didn't have the heart. It didn't have the character development. But it's not just those. There's just so many certain episodes, like the directing, like him, the two characters on a bench. The music, Mumford & Sons, is sort of sprinkled throughout, but there's a few other ones. And it's just, it was remarkable to me how, the collection of things that you put into a television show really makes a difference. And how, and this, I didn't intend it, but this transition into my other huge point. That is something big personally for me, but I think for certain viewers, this might apply to you too. I am not a comedy person, which is weird to say because I went to every stand-up comedian, went to William Mary. I make jokes but I don't like some I like, but like for a straight up sitcom, it's really difficult for me because it just there feels like there's no stakes. It's hard resets, or it's just it doesn't really feel like it there's any like gravitas. No, gravitas.
Oh, gravitas.
There's no gravitas, or it's like why am I caring?
Right. Why do I care?
It's just
about
like
these?
fly by, gone. And some people like it because that they don't want anything heavy, and they're too Well, yes, but you fair. Okay.
I like both.
You like both.
like
Whatever.
both.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
especially because of the eye candy. That's not the reason. But.
So, but I think, but with Ted Lasso, it is. It really has all the elements, and it's more like a drama or a
Dramedy.
I know, but it's more emphasized on the comedy. So, Kamarama? I don't know how. Whatever. Because dramedy would be focused more on drama. Anyway. But yeah, so it and I've tried in numerous ones that, like in Parks and Rec, don't get me wrong, Parks and Rec is great, and it's similar vibes and the hopefulness and everything, but like sometimes it would get a little too over the top, and there are even over the top, like Ted Lasso's jumping and stuff, but I don't know, it just it works for me, and it's hilarious and moving, and yeah, this is actually a practical thing. It's not long, so some people are like, oh, I can't invest in a new series. You can literally watch it, as some people did, in a day. So
it's
like,
really short. It's
a lot of people are intimidated by
episodes.
that. It's 10 episodes. And they're like, it's literally like, it's like a, I don't know, a long movie. Like, that's it. So,
it's really short.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can binge it pretty easily.
For anyone who commented on the Buffy thing, I apologize because I said I'll look at the things. I don't think I did, but if you actually watch the Buffy reviews, and I'll comment on that. So, but if you haven't seen the show and you have other questions based on this, feel free to put it, and I swear this time I'll look and actually go back to the Buffy ones. Like, so I want you, if you have a question or if there's something else that you're wondering about, to be able to mention about that. So, yeah, but... Yeah. That said, yeah, spoilers.
So we're moving into the spoiler portion of this video. So final warning, if you are sensitive to spoilers, haven't seen the show yet, we pretty much are going to be talking about the whole season. So what do you want to talk about first?
To me, the turning point for me and why the third episode was the one where I'm like, was this guy Trent Grimm, or it's actually Krim, but it's supposed to sound like Grimm, I think, because he's like this, I am this, like, reporter guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And who is this Ted Lasso? But they don't actually make him that much of a caricature.
No.
He's just like, okay, yeah, pretty good. All right. And so the whole, but again, he's not a caricature. He's just like sort of a skeptic. Yeah. He's a skeptic, but, you know, and they have this whole, you saw, because I guess spoiler people, like the scene where he's Ted Lasso and him go out to dinner.
Yeah.
And Ted Lasso like wants to, he doesn't want to like offend or make the person who cooks it feel bad, but it's just so hot. And as someone who can't handle hot food, I can relate. And Trent Grimm's like, why is he doing like this? Is ridiculous? This is extreme. Yeah. And then, but they structure the episode so well that it's still, though, it seems like he's going to do pretty much a hit piece on him, but like, you know, maybe mention one or two good things. But the last minute and a half of the letter or the article that he writes is just masterful in that it makes you think that he's at least going to say like, okay, yeah, he's a nice guy, but no, but he says it. He's kind of nice, but yes, you know. So I thought that was one of my favorite parts.
I want to talk about Rebecca because what I love. So I said this before, but virtually every single character is likable, and Rebecca. One thing that surprises me is I definitely enjoy characters that have like a redemption arc. Who start off meant to be the characters that you're supposed to hate, and then you later on find out, here's their sympathetic backstory.
Like Negan.
And
no, it's a joke.
Here's this sympathetic backstory, and, you know, or something happens and you learn that, you know, there's a reason behind why they're doing the things where they're doing. And the unique thing about Rebecca in this series, which I think is different from most other series who have character redemption arcs, is she becomes a sympathetic character way early, like almost even as early as episode 1 or episode 2, whereas most of the time the redemption doesn't actually happen until like near the finale or like near the end. So I thought that was really interesting, is that I really started rooting for her even as early as probably, I don't know, maybe the end of episode 2 or episode 3, I was starting to root for her. And so that was like one of the coolest thing that really surprised me, because I figured eventually, she'd start buying into Ted and actually start believing in him and the team herself. And she does. It does, naturally, she does. It takes a while for her to get to that point. But in the meantime, you get these glimpses, and, the actor who plays Rebecca does a phenomenal job, just making it believable that externally she obviously is trying to, throw a monkey wrench in the whole thing. But internally, like when you look at her eyes, when you look at her body language, and just the way that she delivers some of the dialogue, you can tell how much pain and how much she's hurting inside, like throughout these scenes. And that, I thought, was one of the most impressive things that was very different from most other episodes or shows that I've seen.
I hadn't thought of that. That's a good point. And I had intended to make one Breaking Bad connection, but and first off, because I'm gonna say a few things about it, and you don't need to have seen Breaking Bad for the points to make sense. But if there are people who are Breaking Bad viewers, or people who are really into that, who also I'd be curious to see the overlap, because on the one hand, they're seem like polar opposites. This man's descent into to evil, and certainly a lot of darkness, but the thing that you just said certainly connects with Breaking Bad, in the sense that I guess this is Breaking Bad spoiler territory, but again, if you've seen it, you've seen it. They would constantly do things where you'd expect something to happen, and then it would just happen at a way different time, but it wouldn't seem like we're just doing this for I don't know, shock value or something. It would just in the fifth season, the second half, whatever it is, the last main season, you expected it to be a cat and mouse game with Hank and Walter, and that was going to be the run down to the end. And literally, the first episode, they go at it, and Walt says the infamous lines, I would tread lightly, and that but it would just keep you on the edge all the time. And the other reason, the original reason I wore the shirt, I think it connects, is because during the episodes, and now that July 29th, I think, or 26th, that there's going to be a second season, not too long. So if you're worried, if I binge this, then I won't get to see, I'll have to wait a while. You don't have to wait much at all.
No.
But this first season was great, and you had the sophomore slump is a term for certain with shows. But with Breaking Bad, I would always say that, especially the last season, when it got everyone would watch it week to week, and there's so much pressure on each episode, and I'd be like, oh, is it going to be a letdown? Is it going to be a letdown? And I had to tell myself, until Vince Gilligan, the Breaking Bad guy, proves me wrong, just have faith in them. And it was. And so Ted Lasso, when Hark started to get into it, and then we would watch it week to week. Usually it's just a comedy. It's just, it's some funny jokes. You shouldn't put pressure, to me, on an episode being...
I don't think I ever did.
No, I don't mean you. I just mean in general. It's not... See, it's just... For me, it's worthwhile to, binge and, get... Yep. But to have it where we're going to watch an episode of a comedy each week, it could put too much pressure on it. But with Breaking Bad, it would deliver. Yeah. It still delivered. And so yeah, that was... Oh, and sorry, the last thing based on what you said, and I think there's certainly a Game of Thrones viewership on the show, and if you somehow watched the show and didn't realize, the Game of Thrones shame woman is Rebecca.
The shame bell, yes.
If you somehow didn't realize that...
Yes, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of Rebecca, and I told Colin this many times, my favorite relationship in the show was the sistermance between Kaylee and Rebecca, because I don't know.
No, I'm just laughing at the turn.
I just didn't. Cool. I really loved their relationship, and again, as somebody who, it just really helped Rebecca's character because you got to see, what she's trying to do, and you also know how sweet Kaylee is, and somehow, despite that, she seems to be able to bring the best out of Kaylee, and Kaylee's able to bring the best out of her. And it's just a really awesome bond that they form. And then the payoff of that is when things kind of go awry in the second to last episode, or the end of the third to last episode, when Kaylee finds out that Rebecca's been it's Rebecca all along. It's been Rebecca all along. And so and then that relationship then comes into, hits critical mass. And so yeah, I think that was just a very unexpected relationship that I didn't anticipate when I started watching the show and met those two characters.
Yeah, and I think two parts of that relationship, or mainly Rebecca, that were really good about that. One, when Kaylee shows Rebecca, like, here's the photo or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, similar, kind of what you were saying, and is that it doesn't take like this long, we're in a fight for like 2 episode arc. It's immediate, and you know it, and that's all it needs. And then, and same thing with Rebecca's like, is Ted gonna find out? How long are they gonna find out? And they had that like scene in the locker room or whatever, which is way more like straight up, like she's crying drama than I thought it would be. Another, interesting, like unexpected take that they did on it. And I think my favorite part, is, I don't want to say subtle is the right word, but it was, I don't know, less like, it was quicker, yet more dramatic than I thought it was going to be, was at the end of the episode, which, I think it's in the top 3 for me, when they burn everything, and they get all of their memories and their emotions and the things, and they burn it all. Is unbelievable and so powerful and everything. Although I take it back, it's actually, I think, the next episode that this happens, but whatever. I think the episode after that, they have something also that's a team bonding, heartwarming thing, and then right after that, Jamie Tart, Ted, I think, goes in the office and is like, "What?" And she fires him, Rebecca clearly got rid of Jamie Tart. Yeah. But there's like, in her acting and the way it's staged, you could see that she's like, she did it because she's still stuck in there. She has to kind of commit to that.
But she didn't really want to.
Yeah, she doesn't want to. And she's like, in the way that someone, like, I don't know, they're sucked in and they realize, I'm in a gang and now I'm stuck, or like I'm an alcoholic, like, I can't watch. But there's such like fear and like regret in her eyes, and it's a train wreck. That's great.
Yeah, no, exactly. That is great. And I like, you kind of mentioned this, but I like how they don't draw things out longer than it needs to. Like, it's still, they pace it well. So it's not like, one example, one thing is a pet peeve of mine, and not something that I particularly enjoy experiencing or watching, is love triangles. And so there's a clear love triangle between Kaylee and Jamie and Roy, but it doesn't, that love triangle conflict, it doesn't really, like, it's there, but it doesn't overstay. It doesn't drag, and it doesn't overstay its visit, if I have to make sense. And this happens in many other, like, arcs too, that they get to the point, they tell you this is a thing, and then it resolves it naturally over time, without making it obvious, like, let's milk this. We're gonna milk this storyline as long as we can because blah blah blah. Which I think is a testament to just the writer's ability to know that they have a lot of content, and they don't have to use techniques like drawing out a storyline to fill in as like filler, in order to like get to fill in the gaps between content, because they're always coming out with more things and new things.
Yeah. And 2 other things. One, the final Breaking Bad thing, and then like all the small characters. Just I find it interesting because, like, people are, and Hartman certainly sometimes really seem to fit that people have very strong tastes, or they have like, I don't like this or whatever. And it came with the Buffy review, like, I don't like vampire things. I'm like biased against them somehow. And so, like, it's just remarkable how, like, that those are such different type. Those are such different type things, but it's all about the execution. And actually, now that I say that, I guess I kind of said that before, so now I regret going back to that. Okay, but the characters, small characters, almost every character that even comes up gets their little either grace note in the season finale, or just like even the like random fans who are in the bar. Like, they each have different personalities. They have the one particularly profane guy who says, like, wanker first, but he's very, and the, like, bigger, taller, like, black guy, like, he is, like, sort of more warm from the beginning. And the shop owner, the bartender woman, who's apparently in Doctor Who. Ooh, further crossover, isn't she?
Yeah, she's from Doctor Who.
And then, well, Nate is not a small character. Nate's great. But,
no, Nate is great.
And my first moment to Ted Lasso, when it sold me, was when he says, oh, when Ted, after he meets him initially, but then they're in, like, the locker room or whatever, and then he says, oh, it's your name or whatever.
Nate. He's like, you remember
you're
my
Nate.
name?
And then, well...
Something like that?
No. He says, like, something like, I have to go back, but it doesn't actually matter the specific word, but he basically says, oh, what's your name? And then he's like, oh, wait, what? And then he's like, there's a pause where Nate is so confused that he's actually going to listen to him.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, and he doesn't say, oh, no, can you repeat it? He just stays there. And it's like, okay, like, that's fine, I'll give you time. And it's such a strange for something that's like fast, joke, to be able to, like, pause there and just let it sit, because that fits the person and that same it fits the character, and like the audience is experiencing that same sort of having to get adjusted to Ted Lasso as Nate is getting adjusted to Ted Lasso. So the comic rhythm, the dramatic rhythm, the characters all in the same part it's great.
Since you're on the topic of like the small characters, so one I don't want to call this criticism, because I feel like this could be addressed in the next season, and I get why they didn't do this in season 1. So it's more like a wish list. And I mentioned this to you, like, even early on when we were still watching, like, episode 1 and 2, is this is a relatively large cast, and obviously, like, the main players that you end up following is Jamie Tart and Roy. Well, those two for the most part, but then there's other characters as well that sprinkle in the mix, and they do have moments to shine. But I would love for season 2 for them to actually dive in deeper with some of those other soccer players, like put more scenes with them, maybe to get to know a little bit more of their backstory, because I really care about this team, and I care obviously about Roy and Jamie and the Spanish guy. I love this. I forgot his name, but
Danny. Danny Roy or Danny.
But even Danny, like, you don't really know much about him. Currently, he is sort of a one-dimensional character.
That's correct.
Sort of a one-note, one-trick pony. It would be really cool if we were able to dive in deeper and to see a little bit more of his backstory and some of the other like soccer players' backstory. So that's like the one thing that I would love to see, because I feel like there's enough, like, opportunity there.
Yeah, and my minor criticisms are, and maybe I'm missing something, because we literally just watched this, like, I don't know.
Yeah, we just saw the finale.
It's just the finale. But, like, the last scene with, like, the spilling the coffee on, or the spitting it out, like, that was sort of funny, but unless I'm missing, like, did it connect back to the pilot, or it was just like okay, let's see next season what happens, and it's supposed to be a throwaway shot of her, like...
I think the final... I think the ending of the series, of the season finale, was weaker. Yeah, I think they could have ended it better. Yeah. It was just kind of okay, because it didn't feel like a season finale. It just felt like the ending to any other episode in the season.
And even I wouldn't even say it's that, because almost every episode has ended. Yeah, that was just.
It almost felt like it was the end of, like, we were about to go to commercial.
Yeah, it felt like a deleted scene. It was so strange, and even the music after it was like weird.
So that's one criticism I have.
Yeah,
like, they could have. Ended strong. I thought everything with the soccer game was great.
I know, absolutely.
All the stuff with the soccer game was great. So, but then everything after that, it just kind of was okay.
It was weird. Like they were setting up plot, but it was like written by someone else. It was strange. And then I had one other. Well, initially I felt like the Nate thing being like all of his like hyper like roast, vulgar, personal thing was like that was somewhat out of character. However,
I think it was too, but
I think it was too. Yeah. But I'm willing to grant literary license because it was so
okay. I let it.
It was so surprising and funny, and the way the specificity of the vulgarity and like was good enough, and like and the reactions and all that, and I like the callback to it in the finale. So like it was a little at the moment I was like really, but I gave it, and I thought it worked.
And I like the payoff of the team finally accepting Nathan and actually like rooting for Nathan because he Nate because he was the one who was bullied and like picked on. And one of my favorite turning moments of the show was when Roy comes around, and fortunately it didn't take long. We love Roy. Roy is arguably not one of my favorites. I love Roy.
Yeah.
And just again, like I said, like it doesn't draw it out longer than he needed to. Like Roy didn't come around immediately, but he was the earliest player on the team to come around, and it was strategic because Ted Lasso, he may seem like he is all tomfoolery, but he knows what he's doing. He's not an idiot. Don't be judgmental. Be curious. Don't be. I love that. The dart scene, of course, was awesome. But going back to Roy, like the moment
I forgot about the dart scene.
Oh, the dart scene is fantastic.
There's so many good things in this damn show.
But yeah, just the fact that Roy, he was able to win over Roy and get him on board. That's when all the dominoes started falling, and he was able to like stand up to Jamie Tart. And Brett Goldstein, for those of you who don't know, was a writer. And
they might, because most people don't actually. I feel like most people don't read a million things about it, so they wouldn't. So it shocked them.
Brett Goldstein was originally not supposed to be Roy. They were supposed to cast someone else to be Roy because Brett Goldstein was a writer on the show. But then I don't know what the story is of how it became Roy.
So he like literally just made like a video. He made a video, and they're basically like,
"No, you're Roy."
With the preface of being like, feel free to like reject this. This is not gonna. Don't even. Let's just not talk about this if you're not gonna. And they're just like, oh, like
that's our Roy.
This is right. And
he's not bad looking either.
Another thing is he's terrible at soccer.
Right. He's not
have
athletic.
Like a stunt double or stunt soccer
which I think
player.
Is hilarious.
Yeah.
Even though we just said he doesn't look like he would be non-athletic, but no, he did a great job as Roy.
Yeah, and
I can't.
Yeah. Oh, no, you go.
No, go ahead.
Okay, and I was gonna say, not to say anything. I've followed Ted Lasso stuff, but I haven't like read a ton of things because I am afraid of spoilers. So, but I don't think it's controversial to like Roy, but I genuinely think. Who's the best character? Maybe it doesn't matter to guess, but I would honestly say Roy might be tied with Ted Lasso because Ted Lasso is ultimately I think the most important because he is the most important, not just because he's the main guy in the show, but I do think he is a you've had other like likable, I guess, stern curmudgeons ish with the heart of gold ish. I guess you've had that before, but he does it really well.
He does
get in a lot of different things in a moment, but I still think Ted Lasso has to do the most just because Ted Lasso's like you don't see that like you get. Freaking Phil on Modern Family. Sorry, he's actually fine, but I don't like Phil. I don't like Phil actually at all. But like,
it's okay. I don't like him.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't like him.
But my point is that like with this like let's be happy and positive, but he's just so committed to it. He's so like like the idiosyncrasies of when he phrases things, and like throwing in like the Martin Scorsese movies, which is implausible that the characters would do that, but like it's hilarious. And he throws in and like musical references and like all of these things that he's so like strange and like interesting that it's not a cliche of some upbeat guy, but also he's really savvy. He knows what he's doing with a lot of his tricks. So, but okay, Ted Lasso is obviously is great. So forget the comparisons though, but Roy is just great. I mean,
it's hard not to love him
because from the beginning,
it's so hard.
Like when he's just
him.
Like it was literally. And then like when he's in the shower, when he realizes the shower isn't fixed, that was one of the best parts of the season finale when they referenced the shower being fixed in a very small moment. Yeah. But and then this is I think in the top 2 for Roy, the episode when he goes to the school and he has to read Wrinkle in Time, and then he's like cursing up a storm with it, and he's like no with his niece that he loves, but he's like, this book, what? And effing this, and then, but to me this is I guess obvious, but it was just everything about the Roy last episode, like his and you good point. Hark pointed out the Jamie Tart song and the Roy song. I hadn't even remembered, but they sort of reflected off each other, and just this also wildly overlaps with Friday Night Lights, but the like sort of fallen athletic glory aspect of it was just sort of painful but moving, and then him in the locker room, and just again, this isn't, as an actor you're kind of, if you can't do a crying scene, you gotta, but he did it so well, and Kaylee and all the thing paid off in their relationship, and he's just like, it was beautiful.
It was so good. I'm very surprised that you have not yet mentioned the scene that I think was your favorite scene in the series.
Roy?
No, it has nothing to do with Roy.
Oh, well, I'm assuming you're talking about his divorce stuff.
Yeah, with his wife.
Oh,
he
yeah.
and his wife, that scene, when him and his wife basically broke up.
Oh, you mean the bench scene?
The bench scene.
Yes, the bench scene is unbelievable, and the song, and and the coach, and Coach Beard, who Brandon Hunt, and it's like they're also best friends in real life, and like he actually is a soccer guy. But no, that scene. I mean, the whole everything related to.
And what I love about it is that it's not like they painted the wife as the bad guy, because she's not. I think it's a tragic situation, and you're probably wondering, like, Ted is such a nice person, like. I don't understand. You could easily say she doesn't appreciate what she has. Like, do you know how Ted Lasso is 1 in a million. Like, how could you not like Ted Lasso? But the way they explained it, the way they explained why their marriage is struggling, you kind of get it. You kind of understand. Okay, yeah, I can see that. And so it's just really, it's really tragic when that scene was happening, because you feel bad for both of them. You feel bad for him, you feel bad for the wife, and you feel bad for the kid. Now, fortunately, the kid, I mean, they're doing something right as parents. It doesn't seem like their child has completely been affected by this divorce. Like, we even got to see his son in the finale, and he was still in high spirits. He was still like talking to his dad, and it's like business as usual. So it's nice to see that even though they are not able to be together as husband and wife, that they're still able to be wonderful parents to their son, which I think is unfortunately not always the case. So hopefully, you come out of that scene hoping the best for not only Ted Lasso, but also for the wife and the son and everything. At least I did.
And in that scene, my favorite part by far is the Coach Beard at the end, because he doesn't say that much, but he puts something down, or he does something physically with an object. I can't even remember, but I didn't forget the feeling.
Oh yeah.
And that was wonderful. But really, that whole arc, like that whole from the pilot, which for me, the first two episodes were all good, of course, but like it was I think more for a large part comedy leaning, and you just have to, there's a lot of heavy lifting in pilots in general, and I feel like they said wanker too many times, and it focused too much on that, but I think it was clearly purposeful and brilliant that they made the pilot comedy. Wait, what is this? Like hitting you with a ton of bricks. Drama, instantly believable drama. Like that's hard to do because it would either come off as mawkish or forced or whatever. But it didn't. Like, and that's a credit to Jason Sudeikis. Fairfax, Virginia, where we live, or basically that's where he's from.
Fairfax?
Oh yeah, we discussed it.
That's so cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, to be fair, then he moved to Kansas, and that's also another.
That's so cool.
Whatever. Yeah. But he's in where Glory Days, where you've gone to the things. He's in he's on the wall and stuff.
That's
but yeah,
nice.
Yeah. I haven't come to.
That'd be wonderful.
After school.
There we go.
Hey, I've had the creator. I've had other creators, Greg. I've had another person who's done a bunch of shows that I forgot. But anyway, so that scene where it's in the pilot, it's just, out of nowhere, but it doesn't feel forced. Yeah. And then all the other little things in between, like when the wife comes and they're trying, and but it's so sad, but well done because they're so they're such good people, but you could see it sort of not working the whole time, and then the scene at the mirror, obviously,
and they're never mean-spirited.
Oh yeah,
they're never mean-spirited,
which makes it worse. I mean, it makes it better but worse. But
better but worse.
And then in the mirror scene, obviously, when he has to sign the papers or whatever, but then the scene even earlier in the karaoke place, and I related to it because in the karaoke place when Ted Lasso and everyone, they're all excited and Rebecca's all excited or whatever, and Ted Lasso just is there just shell shocked and can't enjoy any of it. I'll just say November, whatever is election day 2016. I was stuck in Houston at an Adele concert, and I was great concert. Everyone's all excited. Adele, beautiful voice, and I just kept getting election results coming in on my phone, and I was hearing all this joy around me, and it was like yeah, and like Ted Lasso, I was just like there, and then I had to literally leave and flee like he did, and then. At the end, skipping past the mirror scene, I actually liked the not random, but like the sort of loveless sex thing that happened because it I don't know, it felt like something that a desperate person would do, and I just I thought that fit. Oh yeah. So looking forward to season 2. I don't know anything literally at all.
Yes.
Except that it comes out late in July. But one thing that I'm actually really looking forward to is Ted Lasso. Clearly, there's going to be some romance. And so usually I'm sort of in the heart boat of love triangles and romance can be cliched or whatever or annoying.
With Rebecca's friend.
Well, maybe I don't know, or even Cobra Kai, which you haven't seen Cobra Kai. That's fantastic as well. But they do a good job with it, but it's still we're having couplings now. But I genuinely think, again, going along with the Vince Gilligan thing, if these people just without having a lot of time to really invest in coming up with new things and without having it be established. Parks and Recreation is one of the most heralded sitcoms ever, and its first season was terrible. Most shows need a bunch of episodes to really find their tone. Ted Lasso found it immediately, and so if they already have found it, they're going to be able to come up with so many new things. And I just feel like Ted Lasso is such a great charismatic, fruitful character that they could go so many different ways, and I feel like they're going to go with a contrast to some degree, but that contrast, like him and Rebecca, that contrast will be great, and I just feel like, we're going to love whoever Ted Lasso ends up with.
So what is your predictions? What are your predictions for season 2? What do you think's going to happen?
Well, you go first, because I
I think it's obvious, and it might be too obvious. Who knows? They might be making it too obvious that they're setting up a Ted Lasso Rebecca romance. Like it's almost on the nose, but not really. So it's one of those things where I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they go, but it could also go somewhere else.
Would be. I would no. I
you don't think
honestly, I would be absolutely shocked.
You think so?
I'd be absolutely shocked because they're not part of what I've been saying the whole time. And we've been saying they don't do that. Is that they riff?
No. There's a whole bunch of foreshadowing. Like if you watch the scene where she asks him for forgiveness, and he forgives her, the way that she looks at him. And then just the body language and the way that she looks at him and the way that she talks about him. And then when she hugs him, he's like, he says something along the lines of, when there's love or you care about someone deeply, you can get through anything. And then she pulls away and she looks at him. She gives him this look and says, are you talking about you and I? Are you talking about us? And he says, maybe. So it's kind of
in the finale though at that last scene.
No, the scene where she asks forgiveness.
Yeah,
the second to last
maybe.
one. So I think that's obviously the writers teasing it, but it could be a misdirect. It could be a total misdirect. So.
Yeah. I don't. To me, it doesn't matter. To go back to Cobra Kai or Ted Lasso. Both of them really, but. There's no reason that they should work because they're just corny, weird.
You don't think they would work?
Well, okay, they would work for someone who is I want to watch people, kick karate right now, and I want to see a good match at the end and some rivalries. Or Ted Lasso might be it'll be funny. They'll have some hijinks on the soccer field. But neither of those shows are aiming for that. They're trying to have these authentic human moments, and they're trying to be ridiculously detail oriented about everything. Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. It's not that they couldn't work as a thing, but my point is that I don't think that because they're those characteristics that I just described, I think they could make the Rebecca Ted thing work.
Yeah, I just didn't.
Too. I think it would be more. I think it's honestly more powerful if it's a friendship-based thing, and I think another more different character. Yeah,
I don't mind the friendship thing because just because I see them working well together doesn't mean I also don't see them being happier with other people. Yeah. So I definitely can see it go that way as well. And plus, Kaylee and Rebecca. Could be a thing too. Kaylee and Rebecca, they have that sister man, so.
Oh, I was also wondering what's gonna happen with Roy. Is he gonna be a coach, you think?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I am wondering what role Roy will play because I'm sure the fans. I'm sure they're not going to write him off, obviously, because the fans would be upset.
And he's literally a writer, so he's not going to write him off.
He wouldn't write himself off necessarily, so he's got that going for him. So yeah, I'm wondering if they're going to add another coach, a fourth coach to this. But I feel like there's just too many cooks in the kitchen at that point, so I feel like they have to do something else with him. So I don't know what that's going to be, but.
Sorry, I feel really grateful right now because probably my favorite, certainly comedic, my favorite comic scene in the entire series, and I just think it's absolutely shot for shot brilliant. Well, maybe you can figure it out. What is the best directed, Hark made a joke, cold open.
When he's in the frozen. When he's dunking himself in the freezing thing. The freezing tub.
It is absolutely masterful. Because the way it starts with you don't know what it is, and the bubbles or the ice and everything else, and when he gradually comes, and then it being you don't need to explain it, but you know what it is based on last episode, and the way he keeps coming up, and if it was just him, it would work as a expression of character and just incredible visual and all that, but the Danny aspect just puts it a whole nother level, not just because of facile, like, oh, look, there's the happy guy and this guy who's angry. But the fact that the shot that he's like submerged in like, and then Danny's, I'm just running on the track or on the treadmill, and it just leaves it there for a few seconds.
Yeah.
But the angle is unbelievable. So that's and the other comic thing that, well, I don't need to, because anyone who's here has obviously seen the show, but we didn't really talk about just the dialogue, but there are some comedic riffs that are just great.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
What do you predict is going to happen with Jamie Tart in season 2?
I don't know, and I think he was good in various ways, but to be honest, I don't really spend more time on talking about Jamie Tart.
You don't really care about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's actually good, and so my favorite part of Jamie Tart is when Jamie Tart is like, oh, and I forgot what he said in the last episode about like this, but when he's like, oh yeah, like I just like, if he was at this microphone, he just like, I mean, if you think about it, like microphones, they're kind of like really silver a lot. Like when he gets sincere and like he's like thinking about stuff. Like when he's, that part is my favorite of Jamie Tart.
I love the irony with Jamie Tart at the very end in the finale, because the irony is, he finally learns to pass the ball to somebody, and that was probably the only reason they won, is because he actually allowed himself to play as a team member. And to add even more further irony, his own father was like cursing him out because he passed the ball. Even though if he had listened to his father, like I said, they probably wouldn't have won the game. It's just, I didn't come all the way here. Normally they're like, I didn't come all the way here to watch you lose the game. Instead, it's, I didn't come all the way here to watch you pass the ball. So it's ridiculous, but it's just like I just like that interesting, like, poetic irony.
And that was one of the few other like minor, like, it felt a little like
too much.
Yeah, it felt a little too much and like out of nowhere and felt whatever. But
yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I'll go along with it because of everything else. So I was fine with it, but just internally, it was like, but I'm glad through it. And I love the sequencing of when he takes the thing out and then you see like the letter thing, and obviously the army guy was a great callback, but I don't know, I like the note more actually because it's so to the point, but then it just says Ted, and maybe because Ted has become so like sort of fulfilling in our, like, I don't know, hearts and consciousness in the show, so like just seeing Ted there. Yeah.
Well, one thing that confused me, because I feel like she would have said something, is when Jamie Tart came to see Kaylee, and Kaylee was telling her, "Oh, Ted Lasso, like he's playing me. He's like she's trying to trick me. He's playing mind games. He says that he likes me, cares about me, but he doesn't really like me." I'm surprised that Kaylee didn't correct him when he said that Ted Lasso dumped me or Ted Lasso threw me away. Because I'd like to believe Kaylee knows that's not true. I'd like to believe Kaylee knows, especially because Rebecca confessed. I'd like to believe that Kaylee knows Rebecca was the one who dumped him and Ted actually was trying to keep him. So I'm a little surprised that Kaylee didn't say anything. She didn't do anything to set Jamie straight, because I feel like, why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't she try to tell Jamie the truth? I mean, maybe you could argue that he wouldn't listen to the truth, but I'd like to believe if Jamie Tart is going to believe any character says, it's going to be Kaylee. Kaylee's the closest person who would be able to tell him the truth, and he has the remote chance of believing it. So that's the only thing that I think was a little weird and confusing to me, why she wouldn't say anything. Because like, she likes Ted, and I'm sure she does care about Jamie. So since she likes Ted and she likes Jamie, why wouldn't she say something? Why wouldn't she tell him?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
So I feel like that's, I don't know if the writers...
Yeah. The final potential thing I was going to say is that, like, the pandemic and the fact that when this came out, and I mean, not necessarily for me and us, because I've really enjoyed actually aspects of the past year and a half, but it is worth saying, like, what a source of satisfaction this was for so many people. I mean, from Conan O'Brien, Conan O'Brien, like, he made it sort of eloquent tribute to it. But him and his son, it helped them got through the pandemic. The original, The Teacher, that Phoebe Morris, who recommended to me, like, it's just it at a time in which that. And I think it came out still when the election was going. It was out. It was out, I think, by the time the 2020 insanity was ripping through everything. And then the January, the Capitol sacking, like, and to have this and to have it, virtually all work, it's exciting. And be able to share it with Hark.
So let us know if there's anything else that you enjoy about the show, if there was something that you observed that we didn't talk about, if there's like a scene that you thought was your favorite, let us know in the comments below, because I always love to hear who else is a big fan of the show, or if you ended up watching the show because of this review and hopefully you ended up liking it. Feel free to let us know what you thought. I
do that. I try, if someone recommends, I go back later, and most people are like swamped with 50 things. And also, if you want to reference anything we specifically said in there,
please do.
Because sometimes, sometimes the other reviews, it would like just general comments on the show, which is awesome. But like if you reference anything like Hark said or I said, that's awesome. So
So thank you, Colin.
Thank you for doing it. It was great.
Yes, and I guess I will see you all next time. Maybe we'll talk about season 2. Maybe we'll talk about season 2.
It will actually probably be This Is Us before then, but yeah.
Probably.
It will be,
So, until next time, everybody, love yourselves and love each other.
Bye. Thanks for watching.